Welcome back to the Garden State Outdoorsman podcast presented by Boondocks Hunting. I'm your host, Mike Nitre. And today we got a fellow Jersey outdoorsman, Maddie. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, a lot of, especially if you're bow hunting New Jersey. I mean, I remember starting to follow along with the Jersey Outdoors Instagram that you guys had created over there. You guys got yourselves a pretty good team. Now you also have your own personal hunting page. It looks like Mattybutts Outdoors. But give the people out there a quick backstory.
All right. So honestly, as I was growing up, you would see stuff on TV and social media. Back then, it really wasn't a big social media, but you would see stuff on TV and YouTube, and these guys hunting out west. There was never anything in Jersey to in a way, teach you and show you, what's going on. So as I was younger and coming up hunting and fishing and everything, and I said, wow, one day I would love to have something to show people in Jersey. Like, there is good deer here. Like, we're not Illinois hunting, but we are Jersey hunting, and there's awesome deer here, and there's awesome hunting here.
So yeah, I agree. You go ahead.
I was gonna say that's where it kind of started, Jersey Outdoors, and it was honestly, a group of us, just good friends who all loved the same thing, and just would go out and fish and fish hard and hunt hard and spend time in the woods and doing everything like that we just love, and we just wanted to show people like, hey, listen, this, whether it's hunting or fishing, like, you can do this stuff in Jersey, because it was never like a big thing,
I think Jersey's still, and I think it's always still going to be a looked over state, but that's one of the things that, big part of why we created this podcast, and to give New Jersey hunters and fishermen on a platform to speak. And it's grown into going everywhere and giving everyone else the opportunity to speak. But you're right, like when you first, I think started following the page in 2013, because that's when I created this account. And it was just you guys, obviously Gerard, but that's really, like, I'm trying to think, that's really about it. I mean, obviously social media is not where it is, like you said, not where it is today and everything like that, but you never saw that. And still to this day, I still think you just don't see the Northeast as much, as you really should. I think there's anywhere from Maine all the way down to North and South Carolina. And if you want to keep going, even further, there's just so much vast opportunities for fishing and hunting. I mean, Jersey alone, we have big deer, we have big bears, we have coyotes, waterfowl hunting, turkeys. Yeah. And then, we're not even talking about fishing.
Right. And there's the array of hunting here is so, wide, because you do have everything. You have upland, small game. There's so much hunting here, and it is looked over a lot. And that's where that whole Jersey Outdoors came from.
Yeah. So, when did you guys start? When did you guys originally start that page?
I want to say that was like 2012.
Okay.
And it wasn't, at the time, it wasn't this big. I'm not even saying like it's a big thing, but like, it was just like an Instagram, just to show people like, hey, we're fishing, we're hunting, and we're doing this here in Jersey. And it wasn't like, I think at the time when it first started, it was like next to nothing followers. And then it just kind of just kept going and growing. And then we got more people involved in it. And our team that's, you could see our team puts in a ton of work to get the success that we've been getting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just looking at that page alone, and anyone who looks at it, it's like it's quite amazing to not only see the work, but the quality, the quantity. I want to, really, it's not always about the biggest deer, but you guys shoot a lot of deer. I mean, you look at some of your posts, and one of them that I think always comes to mind, when Dom shot that doe on the deer drive.
Yes.
that one is always, I remember first seeing that, and that was absolutely insane. And I feel like, you know, doing what you guys do, you guys have fun. And that's like the most important thing. It's about fun, family, tradition, friendship. It's all, this is what hunting really is, you know, and it's so in a state that we're such a liberal state, and it's looked so down upon, and people think the worst of us, but this really shows the best of us and why we hunt. And you know, it's not all about killing, but it's the family, it's the friendship, it's the long term memories.
Absolutely. And I mean, kind of going off of what you just said was, you know, a lot of people started hunting and doing this thing because it's like the new cool thing to do. Like we've been doing this, like we've been doing this, and it's not even like it's for, I guess like clout or fame, whatever you want to call it, like publicity. Like it's not even for that. It started way before that, like before these TikToks and things like that were made. Like we've been doing it, so we're not like new to this, and just we're not doing it for like a rise and followers and this that. Like we're doing it because this is our passion and this is what we love to do.
Yeah, no, I 100% there with you. I mean, it all started, it was all, you know, just a show. And that's why I always tell people, like, well, why'd you do it? I go, I didn't mean to do this. This was not in, like, you know, I didn't think of that, you know, I was going to be doing this 10 years ago. You know, when I first originally started the page, it was to show people, you know, just my passion for hunting and fishing and the outdoors, camping, every avenue that, you know, everyday people on my personal page don't really want to see, you know. And I created this specifically for, you know, hunters, fishermen, and just to engage. And then it's just grown into something completely else. But, you know, I think doing it for, I think Instagram, TikTok has been a negative effect. I mean, there's a lot of positive things too, but there's a lot of people doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, first of all, I will tell you, I despise TikTok with an absolute passion. I think they are the biggest joke social media platform out there. I mean, almost all my videos get, first of all, taken down. But if I was a woman showing my boobs and ass and everything like that, it would be completely fine on TikTok and, you know, all just these other things. But it's like, man, I'm not even showing killing, like me shooting an animal, and I'm getting stuff taken down. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I mean, I just want to show, you know, what we're all about and grow, you know, the outdoors as best as I can. But TikTok has really made that impossible. It also has grown a platform for, I think, the and I don't want to disrespect anyone out here, but the wannabes. That's what I'll say. Like more of the wannabes, and just do it for show and just not really hunt. You know, put more of a, I guess, a bad name on what we really are.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's funny. I deleted TikTok. I know like what you said is you're not trying to offend these people, but listen, if this is what it is, we're going to offend some people because on there who are doing things, and you're just like, dude, like, I don't know, all these new trends and things like that when it comes to hunting and fishing. And it's just like, I remember, like the Bass Pro hats, right? Nobody ever wore a Bass Pro hat. And then all of a sudden you see all these kids in the gym and out and on the streets wearing a Bass Pro hat. And they don't know what a bass is, like they never even stepped foot in the store until they saw it became like a popular thing.
Right? I mean, it's crazy. Like I've been to some places too where it's like, I'll be at a bar and like someone's like decked out in like camo. I'm like, oh, like cool. Like you hunt and everything. Like, no, I just, you know, it makes me be like, it's like the cool thing to be the country boy, but it's like, you don't do anything country.
Yeah. No,
you know, and it's funny because like some certain people, they'll wear that and they'll be like, yeah, well, you're black, so you're not. I go, what are you talking about? I go, first of all, let me tell you something. I am more country than you ever will be. Right? I hunt, I fish, I camp, I drive a big truck. I like to be dirty. I like to get my hands dirty and everything like that. Listen, I'll love to be a farm boy. Like that's my dream, to get my own farm, to farm all goddamn day, to hunt, fish, and just live off the farm. I'm like, but what do? You work what, in New York City on Wall Street? You listen to some country music, that makes you country.
And if you listen to the new Luke Bryan, man, you're country. Let me tell you.
Some people definitely are getting offended right now.
Oh, for sure. But listen, I'm gonna tell you what. That's us. That's me. And if you don't like it, I'm really. If you don't like it, turn the channel off. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. But 100% right. So when did it all start for you? You know, you grew up in the outdoors. What was your first memory of hunting, fishing, doing whatever in the outdoors?
So I've been fishing and in the woods since I'm young. Like I'm talking, probably 4 or 5 years old fishing, and even probably a little bit younger. I mean, there's pictures of me sitting there in my living room, like fishing and not catching on anything. Obviously, I'm in my living room, but just casting my rod and filling it in and learning how to do stuff. But the hunting came a little bit later. My father didn't hunt, so I didn't really have a father figure to show me like how to hunt. But one of my best friends hunted, so I would go with him and we would just go scout deer, and that's what I picked up on, and learning like what a rub was, what a scrape was, and things like that. And it just interested me, and I grew this passion for it. And I said, like, wow, I saw something that a lot of people don't see every day. Most people do their 9 to 5, come home and go on the computer, whatever they do, and they don't even know there's this whole other world out there.
Yeah.
And so it started like that, and it just snowballed. And I started realizing how to hunt, really, like how to do things, and taught myself. And then I linked up with friends who are my best friends today, and we all started sharing ideas and teaching each other. And I think
I
that's
mean,
how we got where we are.
yeah, no, and I love how that said, like, fishing. It started with fishing, and then it's just grown into something just. Yet again, you look back at it, what, 20 years ago, and it's like, man, I never thought I would have been where I am. You grow up fishing, and of course, I feel like that might be the most common thing, especially if you don't have a father figure to show you the hunting, who never hunted. Usually if you're not in that hunting family, it's a tough sport to get into, but once you're into it, the switch just turns, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I wish I was doing this from 5 years old. Like, I love fishing, don't get me wrong, I do, but to me it just doesn't compare to hunting. Like, I haven't been able to really fish properly since, like, I've gotten so swept up in hunting, and now it's gone from turkey season to constantly scouting to all the prep work with that, and then deer hunting, bear hunting. Now I'm absolute fiend for bear hunting now, waterfowl hunting and everything. Like, so it's just nonstop, like, where it doesn't stop ever.
And that's awesome though, because a lot of people may come into this very prejudiced and just be like, listen, I just want to deer hunt, and then next thing you know, they're out there pheasant hunting. Like me, I was never a big pheasant hunter, and one of my buddies like, dude, come pheasant hunting. And I'm like, nah, it's not me. And I went and I absolutely fell in love with it, to the point where I tried a dog, and I got a dog, and we go all the time.
I love that. That's the dream. I think pheasant hunting is the next thing that I've done it before. It's the next thing I need to get hooked up on. It's tough doing it without a dog, and that's what that's the tough thing. But everything else, like, I never thought I was gonna get hooked on waterfowl hunting, and then now, I'm planning on getting my own decoys, doing all these things. It's like, well, there goes more money that I don't have.
And if we're gonna get into it, we're gonna get into it. But all right, it's getting my blood boiling now. It's harder and harder to hunt nowadays because I grew up in Monmouth County, and watching Monmouth County from grow to where it is now, and it's just apartment buildings, strip malls. The farms that I saw, like, growing up, are just retirement homes, and it's like these people just keep coming, and building, and it's ruining hunting, and it's ruining, like, in my opinion, it's ruining everything.
No, I agree. And like it's not like you said, it's ruining everything. You know, you're not just looking at hunting, you're just looking at the over first of all, our world, our country is just fucked right now, you know. And I think a big part is that our world is so used to having trees everywhere. And now it's slowly just gone almost nowhere. I mean, I just got home from England on vacation, and I mean, being out there was just like, especially in the north, it's just like you don't see. I'd be like, wow, we're taking a train. It's like these stay farmlands. You know that they don't want the retirement home there, the shopping mall there, the center there. Like they didn't have like we have. Of course, there's pockets of it, but it seems like everywhere now you go here in America, you know, that block of woods is now new housing, new apartments, a new strip where it's like, why the hell did they just put a whole new strip? I don't need another Taco Bell there. I really don't.
Or a Wawa, right? There's one too.
Or a Wawa.
Yeah.
Wawa, Quick Check, 7-Eleven, a gas. It to me, it's the most frustrating thing, and it's very scary to think about what it's going to be when our kids get older, and that's the scary part because if you talk to the old timers, I imagine they were feeling the same way, you know. And look where they're at now.
I feel like an old timer. Like I remember, when I was younger, my parents would be like, "Oh, when we bought this house, those were all apple orchards over there." And now I'm like, "Those are new developments," And like when I was younger, right across from our school was all horse farms, and now it's all developments. And I feel like that old timer saying, like, "Wow, that piece of woods right there is where I shot my first deer, and now it's all townhouses," And it's sad to say, and it's like my kids are not going to be able to experience what I've experienced and be able to do the things because there's not going to be anywhere for them to do it.
I think I had a nightmare like a month ago, and I remember it because it was my hunting spot literally turned into a like they're doing construction or something on it, and I was so pissed in the dream because I'm like, my camera's there, like this is where like this I've been hunting this spot for like 10 years. I was fuming in my dream, and I woke up and I was actually like, it was a cold sweat. It was a nightmare. Like I was like, I'm starting to get paranoid about like you just never know at this point what is going to be developed, what's next, and it's where. And then you have these people that are complaining about animals. Oh, the deer in my garden, the deer are doing this. Oh, the bear here, yada yada yada. Well, what the hell do you expect to happen? I was a 911 dispatcher for a little bit in between doing what I'm doing now. I took a break, and I wanted to go do that for a little bit, and we got a call one day, and I'll never forget. It was some guy called. He goes, "Yeah, I have rabbits in my yard. Can I shoot them?" And I was like, "No, we don't have. There's no discharge. Like you live in a town where you cannot do that." He goes, "So you're telling me I can't shoot them?" I go, "Yes, I am telling you you can't shoot them. If you shoot them, we are going to send the police over there and they're going to arrest you." He goes, "Well, what do I do with them?" I go, "Leave them alone. They're in their natural. You moved into their into their habitat. Just leave them alone. They're rabbits. What? Who
Yeah, what do
cares?
they? Nothing,
They don't do anything. They're rabbits. They're going to eat some grass and that's about it. Maybe a fox will kill it. Maybe a cat will kill it. You know what? Let evolution play out the way it needs to play out, and that's about it."
Right. Yeah, and with that being said, like, so I remember it's funny, like you bring up your dispatcher. I remember being younger, and this had to be like maybe 6-7 years ago. And there's this retention basin in this neighborhood, and I went there because it was a good little fishing spot. And I'm sitting there fishing, and all the cops roll up on me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, somebody in this neighborhood called. They don't want you fishing here." I said, "Okay, I understand that, but it's not like I'm sitting here wrecking the place. I'm not playing loud music. All I'm doing is fishing." Now, respectfully, I wasn't going to cause an issue to the cops. I left, but I was like, these people, they move here from New York, and
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to make this New York. And like, listen, I don't understand where it's like, what? There's nothing wrong with a kid fishing. There's nothing wrong. If the kid was out there creating, disturbance and this and that, okay, call the cops. But the kid is fishing. Maybe walk out and say, hey, how's it going? We live in this house. It's nice to see a kid fishing. The kid's, you can see he's not doing drugs. He's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, get in trouble. I don't know.
It's a shame. It really is a shame. And then that's a big turnoff for someone who maybe that person doesn't want to go fishing anymore. Maybe that person doesn't. It turns people off from doing what we should be able to do, because no one wants to be, annoyed. No one wants to be bothered by something where it's like, all right, this may be my hour to 2 hours that I get a chance to go fish at a pond real quick. The last thing I want to do is be bothered. Maybe my at home life, I get bothered. Maybe at work, I'm being bothered. Like, you're dealing with people constantly. Cool thing about hunting and fishing, for the most part, you get to be you out in nature and just breathe and relax and kind of decompress and, from your stressful ass life. But now you're getting bothered by some asshole who called the cops for you doing, what you love to do. That's tough.
It's not the cops, because they're doing their job, right? It's
exactly.
Not cops at all. It's it's like I said, it's people who moved here from New York. This particular spot, it used to be a farm pond, and this was built, like, these houses were built on a farm, and then it's all people from New York. Which, hey, listen, you know what? I get it. People move for whatever reason, so I'm not blaming that. But I don't know exactly, for you, but since COVID happened, I don't know, man. A lot of people move down here from New York, and they're just taking over everything. And then you get these guys who are from New York that don't really have the same ethics and moral code as someone who, grew up in this town and knows this guy and says, listen, man, we don't do that here. Like, we don't just trespass on somebody's property to go hunt.
Yeah.
And you get these people who just come down here and just do whatever they want.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I live in Summit, so I'm not far away. I could see the city from my roof. So we get all those New Yorkers who they all live in, a lot of the guys who work in New York, they live in my town, right? Very high-end town. I hunt, and then I know my buddies, they go by Uncle Larry's Outdoors on Instagram. Yeah. They're from my town. We all grew up like together, and we all went to school together. And like that. And it was funny because when we started doing the podcast, they had started their fishing page, and I was like, yo, you want to jump on? And they're like, dude, I had no idea this whole entire time that we've basically went to elementary school and everything like that all around. We never knew that we were into the outdoors. Like, they fished, I fished, I hunted. And I think I know maybe one or two more people that hunt, maybe. But then yet again, you get those fake country boys that wear the camo, that wear the the all that, and try to be what they're really not. But that's kind of my town. I'm trying to move to one of those places where I can do that. But yet again, everyone from New York City since COVID has moved out here. And now they can outbid the shit out of me. Like, I may never get a freaking house with property and farmland, because it costs an arm and a leg. And some rich asshole from New York City, and it's already happened already, where there's been things that we wanted to do, and you just get some rich person from New York or something like that. They beat you to it, and they can offer X amount of cash. And you're like, well, can't beat that. So, I'm kind of shit out of luck.
Dude, that's a whole other topic we could get into. Trust me, man. Monmouth County is blooming. You got Marlboro and everything. And it's a lot of people from Staten Island and New York. And it's like, there's a couple restaurants you can go to. And on a Thursday, Friday night, it's like all mobsters. And you're like, man, what happened? This never like this. We used to hang out in this parking lot and drink beers on our trucks. And now this is a strip mall,
Oh man. But so when when you started to get into hunting and everything like that, what was your first hunting year? Like, what can you remember the details and everything? What was that? Were you one of those people? First of all, were you bow hunting, or was it with the gun? What were you doing at that time?
All right, so I've always bow hunted, and I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you a story. Definitely embarrassing, and I'm definitely gonna, I should probably just keep my mouth shut. But it's a good story, and I'm happy it happened because it honestly gets a lot of laughs. So I'm younger. I'm hunting. I've hunted when I was younger. I never really got anything. I really didn't know, but I got the experience, right?
Yeah.
And as a little older, I was able to harvest does, and I never really harvest like a mature rack buck. Um, so as I got older and started hunting more, I basically self-taught, right? So I go out hunting one night on private property that I have permission to be on. It was my stepfather's property. And how it goes is there's a field, it's 5 acres, there's field with woods, and then it goes to the neighbor's property, which is all field, which I
Yeah.
also have to hunt. And so it's just getting dark out, and I'm up in the stand, and I'm like, you know what, I'll climb down because you got that gray light. You still got some time out in the field before it gets completely dark. And like I said, man, this is maybe I never really shot a big buck. And I get down out of my stand, and there's all tall grass, like all high, high grass and weeds and stuff. And I look, and it's right around the rut. And I'll never forget, man. I see this buck standing there, and I see his tail moving, and I'm like, holy shit! My heart starts pounding. I'm like, I'm gonna shoot this deer. So I start like army crawling through this tall grass, and I got like 40 yards from it, 35, 40 yards. And I'm like, you know what? I kneel up, I pull my bow back, and I put my sight on it, and I'm like, all right, ready, 1, 2, 3, shoot. I shoot, and I see a spark. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And all of a sudden, I hear this dude scream from up in a tree, what are you doing? I'm like, and I was so confused. I'm like, what's going on? And he comes in, he's like, you shot my decoy.
Oh no.
I was so embarrassed. I'm like, what do you mean your decoy? He's like, that's my decoy. I'm like, man, I definitely just smoked your decoy. So I walked up my arrow out of it. It was when rages like just became popular, and I put when I tell you I put like a 2-inch hole in this dude's decoy, and I'm like, listen, man, I didn't know anybody was hunting here. I was under the impression I'm the only one that hunts here. And I said I saw the tail moving, but what he did was he sprayed paper towel with like dominant bug spray, and he stuck it on the tail. So me seeing the tail,
Smart.
I'm thinking it's a deer. And like, dude, when I tell you, this is like my first time really out hunting by myself. So it's as embarrassing as it is funny. I offered to pay for
Those are the stories I love. I love stories like that. First of all, quick question: was it a lethal shot?
dude. It was totally lethal. Like I could still see. It was totally lethal. I could still see, and I had permission to be right where I was. And
Oh my god.
it just so happens that this guy had also gotten permission to hunt, but the owner never told me that, hey, I'm allowing this gentleman to hunt too.
Yeah.
So when I saw this deer, and it was a buck, it was a rack, man, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna shoot this buck. This is gonna be my first buck. And sure as shit, man, it was some dude's decoy.
Oh my god, that's insane. I mean, yeah, I don't hear it often, but like I'm always so surprised that it doesn't happen more often. I saw a video
Well,
on Instagram during turkey season.
nobody talks about it because of how embarrassing it is.
Listen, I see. I would so talk about it. Like, shit happens. Like, you
Oh yeah.
know, yeah, it's embarrassing. Listen, I've had some embarrassing things happen too. It's the woods, especially when you're out there early in the morning. Listen, when that belly's rumbling, when you gotta go, you gotta go. So there's sometimes especially if you leave I now, one of the most important things that was told to me, and this is my buddy Kyle, is always have like toilet paper or a dude wipe or something like that, right? Forgot it in my bag one day. I had nothing else. Went in with socks, went out without socks. And then there you go. Like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. I actually 3 years ago, I was, for anyone who's listening who's already heard the story, you'll remember this, and anyone new. Um, I got up opening day, I think like 3 years ago, went out, full moon, everything was great, perfect. Mid walking in, I don't know if it's just the morning activity, my body just wasn't rumbling. I was like, oh no. I'm like, okay, maybe I can make it. Like literally mid step, like, nope. Had to rip all my stuff, basically all drop everything, just took a huge shit, right? And I was like, all right, like finally feel better. Got into the stand 30 minutes later, the sun started to rise, smoked a deer maybe 5 minutes into shooting hours. My hunt was done within 30 minutes of hunting season. I was like, oh, okay, good. Maybe that's a good sign. I was like, all right, maybe that's the thing I gotta do from now on. But it was one of those things. It's like, hey, dude, when you gotta go, you gotta go. I'm always tripping and falling. I swear, if anyone had a camera, I should carry it. Like I do record my hunts, but I need to carry I need someone to come out with me and see how much I fall in the woods. A bow will go flying, everything. That's embarrassing, especially, if somebody's sitting there watching, like, and you never know who's watching you. Look what happened to you. You didn't think anyone was even anywhere close to there, and boom, next thing you know, you shoot a decoy, and there's a guy up in the tree, probably watched you sneak all the way in.
Well, that's what I thought about after. I'm like, this guy watched me sneak all the way, like army crawl, and he could have stopped me. He waited for it, so it's partially his fault.
Right? 100%. Yeah, 100% definitely is. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, why wouldn't you stop the guy? Like, why wouldn't you say, hey, bud, like, I wonder if he just thought he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
Yeah, he was like,
no, come on.
I definitely did it. I definitely got that dude's decoy, and I still talk to that guy like to this day.
Really?
Yeah. We had a good relationship after. He'll always call me like, hey, look at this deer I got. He'll call me, how you been making out? And he's
great.
Away from shooting decoys to shooting, deer.
Right. Yeah. No. So where'd you go after that? So after that happened, what the rest of your season look like?
Oh, dude. I mean, at that time, at that point, I wasn't like this, and I'm not trying to say I'm like a big hunter, but like I wasn't into hunting as much as I am now because I was like just getting my feet wet, right? And then like after that, I was like, man, I never want to feel like that again. I'm never shooting somebody's decoy again. And I really just like started learning, and I'll be honest with you, I watch a lot of stuff on like social media and on YouTube and things like that, and people that follow like the moon guides and stuff like that. It definitely works. However, I'm like old school, man. I don't really follow that, and I'll hang stands, and people be like, "You've killed a deer out of this stand? Like how?" Like I'm just like, listen, I don't know. I really, but I don't.
Oh man.
Sometimes when you do too much, it takes away from actually hunting. Like if you're doing too much of like, I got these tactics and this and that, and I'm going to go 40 feet in a tree as opposed to 20 feet or, X, Y, and Z. Like I got this camo. I think people do too much nowadays.
Yeah.
And it definitely takes away from, like hunting. It takes away from.
I'll second that too. I've noticed. I think not saying I don't have fun, and anyone don't interpret what I'm going to say, because I still love what I do and I still have tons of fun. But I think everything's more calculated now. I think when you're younger, you have no idea what the hell you're kind of doing, so you just go out, like, you belly crawl to that deer. Like at the end of the day, like I miss those moments where I would go out and I would, just stalk deer, and I'd fail because it's difficult. You're belly crawling, you're this, you're doing all these things, but it's the purest form. It's so much fun. Like your adrenaline's pumping, you're getting a good workout in. You have no idea if you're going to be able to even close that distance, because sometimes you're closing a pretty big distance of a couple hundred yards, and I think now it's gone more into, and I pay attention to that moon. I know exactly what you're talking about. They have that app. I've tried it. I know it does work, but I always tell people nothing's the end all be all. It is going to help you, but it also doesn't mean it is going to be the most perfect thing. The best thing you can do is just go get your ass out there, get into the woods and hunt. I don't care what you do, as long as you're going after it. That's the best way, I think to learning, and that's what I like to do. But a lot of things are just calculated right now, and I think I gotta take a step back from that and kind of get back into my older habits and just not over analyze everything, because I'm a big analyzer. I mean, I'm from the videos to the trail camera to everything's documented. Like I've come into a complete maniac with it. I think my fiance thinks there's something wrong with me, the amount of time I spend thinking about deer. But
Yeah, I think my wife could say the same.
But
funny story real quick.
Yeah.
To just piggyback off of what you're saying, I wish I had my bow here right now so I could show you. My setup is so basic. Like, I'm pretty sure the sight that I have, like the level in there is definitely busted. The sight that I have is like one of those. I probably got it at like Dick's Sporting Goods back in like 2013 when it was like trophy ridges. And last year I took it off because all my buddies make fun of me. They're like, throw that piece of shit out. Get a good sight. Like, dude, for as much as you hunt, get a good sight. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I go and do that. And I put a nice sight on there. I spent some money on it. I'm like, all right, this is, new equipment, cool. And I shot it, and I was like, I tuned it all. Man, I go out hunting, and the buck, this is last season, the buck that I'm after comes in at 20 yards, and I draw back, and that sight fucked me all up. I shot right over this deer's back. Like, clean as day. And I'm like, no way. I went right home and took that piece of shit off and put my old, in my eyes, my great sight back on my bow. And it was like nothing ever changed. I'm shooting the target at 40, 50 yards and putting in groups like this. I'm like, why did I listen to these people? Because everyone wants to have that new optic or that new, sight. And it's like, that's great. And it may work for some people, but I'm simple. Like I've had the same bow since 2000 and when did I get that? 2013? Yeah, 2013, 12 or 13. I've had the same bow. And everyone says, well, dude, why don't you get a new bow? Because it works. It works.
Yeah.
It's
Cool. Hell yeah.
It works. I don't need to go spend 15 to $2,000 on a new bow. What I have works. I'm simple. That's how I like it.
I think, like, for one, I'm very superstitious when it comes to, from when I was young age playing hockey. I grew my whole career superstitious. Same, not the same, but same brand. Like, I wouldn't switch. I'd rock the same skates Bauer, and I'd only get Bauer. I'd only do this. I'd only do that. And it's definitely gone into hunting where I think when the minute you change up something, it can throw you off. And just like for me, like the minute I would change something up too much in hockey, it would put me off the game. And bow hunting's that, like, mentally you have to be in it. Everything has to be 100%. So I notice when I'm bow hunting and I start second guessing things, that's where my shot is off. There's no confidence. You need confidence in bow hunting. It is, out of everything that you do when it comes to hunting, confidence is key. It's the most important thing when it comes to bow hunting. And I'm one of those guys where I am a equipment junkie. I like new bows, not because I just like trying different things. I like trying different sights. Like, I'm actually about to go get a new sight because I want to try a single pin. A big part of the podcast and the platform is I want to be able to give my recommendations and not be as biased, because I'm pretty damn biased because of my superstitions. I'm like, oh no, you have to shoot. Like, I can't be that way. Sometimes I got to be like, hey, you know what? there's other things out there. I would like to be able to try everything so I really then know, you know what, this is exactly why I'm picking what I'm picking, because you know what, at the end of the day, I've tried it. I've tried it all, you know. Um, Also, plus, like, I agree. You also don't need to do that. And that's going to anyone out there. Look at, you know, go, his Instagram page is going to be right in the description in this, you know, podcast link. Check out the deer that he shot and all the, you know, the deer that these guys have shot. And, you know, he's telling you, well, when did you say the last time you bought a new bow?
2000. It was either 2013, and it was actually a Christmas gift to me.
Okay, so 2013, you don't need, as long as you get new strings base and keep it,
Yeah.
it is a tool that's going to keep on working and working and working. I know another buddy, Dave, he's been using his same PSE forever. Like, you don't need to do that to be the best hunter. You don't, you know, I think it really, like I said, it's much more into the confidence than everything, than anything, you know.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with somebody who wants a new bow or like likes the newest stuff. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
However, me personally, I'm simple, and I, you know, again, I said it before. I just feel like when you're trying to keep up and buy all the new stuff, it takes away from actually enjoying why you got into it. And it's like, you know, I don't need a brand new bow to go out and hunt when I have a bow that works, and I'm persistent with it. I'm harvesting mature bucks, you know, and I don't know, you know, that's just me. That's just me. And there's nothing wrong with anybody who likes new stuff. There's nothing wrong. You know, I'm also cheap. I don't like to spend money like that.
I'm cheap on I'm cheap on everything else but my hunting stuff. Like, I am just like, any type of way I could save money and not spend money, I will not. Like, no, I won't do it. But when it comes to hunting, like, and this is what, you know, I did a podcast earlier this morning. You know, I said I'm the type of person, though, you know, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to buy something, and I'm going to spend the extra money because I know that equipment's not going to fail me. Now, I know for a fact I don't need a new bow. I know my bow get new strings I shoot so much, get new strings every year. Guess what? I take care of that piece of equipment. That can last me 20 years. You know, I could pass that down to my kids when they're ready to, you know, to hunt and everything like that. And boom, there's the bow. You know, I've kept all my old bows. I still have them all. You know, they go from a backup bow to just, you know, whatever. I'm superstitious. I just like that. But, you know, I agree with you. I think there's nothing wrong with whichever you do. I just don't want people going out there and buying stuff because they think they have to, or it's going to make them a better hunter. No, it doesn't. You know, I know a couple of people who are new to hunting and they bought the brand new Matthews and brand new Hoyt. And I'm like, well, why? You don't even know if you like hunting yet. You know, hunting is at the end of the day, a very tough sport. What happens if you injure that deer? That is probably the hardest thing that a hunter really has to go through. It's, to me, it's the worst feeling you're ever going to have is when you injure a deer, and you know that it's gut wrenching. What if that happens and you don't like it? You don't like it. You can't deal with it.
Putting a bad shot on a deer that got away, and you're like, wow, you know, like, it's definitely happened to me. Like, my friends will definitely, you know, attest to it. I've missed big bucks. I've missed those, and you know what, it happens. You know, and I've definitely put in a bad shot on a buck, like a solid deer, and I just, you know, it sits with you, and you're like, damn, either, you know, I don't know, maybe I should have shot. There's a million things that go through, but I get what you're saying with it. And if anybody is going to take any advice from me from this whole thing, if you're new to hunting, you do not have to spend a ton of money. You do not need all these new things that if you're getting into it, see if you actually enjoy and see if it is something that you want to continue.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, and there's anyone out there, I always say it. Hit me up. I have so much stuff, like, I'm willing to donate or, you know, let you use or anything like that. Like, man, I actually I'm getting one of my buddies into it, and he's gonna be using my old crossbow. I'm gonna go get that restrung up and everything for him. And here you go. Everything I'm gonna give is gonna be my old stuff. If he likes it after this year and wants to to continue, that's going to be on him. And, you know, now he knows where he can go and stuff like that. But that's another thing I have a problem with too, about the hunting community, is just how expensive everything has gotten. It is
Yeah.
no longer becoming it's already such a difficult sport to get into, but now with everything, how much everything costs, I mean, you're kind of really making it a person with money can do. You know, it's even after you shoot the animal, if you don't have the ability to butcher it yourself, you're spending quite a amount of money going to the butcher and everything like that. And I still think it's 100% worth it. It is going to save you so much money in groceries, and you actually know where your meat's coming from and everything like that. But still, there's certain people that, you know, they just don't. It's tough to sacrifice the, you know, the money and time, and it's, you know, it's definitely gotten difficult.
Right. No, it's. I mean, it's besides hunting, everything in today is just keeps going up. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to see where it's going to go. You know, especially as far as hunting. Like, if you even look at it, like corn. If you're buying corn and baiting, you know, it's. I don't know about up by you, but like down here, it's $10 a bag. When I
Yep.
first started buying corn when I was younger to put out, it was $6 a bag. I was
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, that's not terrible, but you know, and
I
now
think
for
it's 10.50 up here.
10.50.
Yeah, I think that's the exact. At least one of the place I go to, I know I've seen it for more in other places.
Yeah, and I get it, but it's not as you know, it's not really the farmer's fault either. The price of
No.
diesel and wear and tear and everything. So I get it. You know, everybody's got to make money, but it is getting to a point where it's just, you know, one deer, and if it's a buck or that you like to mount, you know, that deer is costing you at the end of it maybe $2,500
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
butchering, you know, the time you spend out there back and forth with gas, the bait, check cameras, things like that. You know, it is expensive.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, you know, let's get into some of these bucks that you've harvested. Now, we might as well start with, you know, the one that you this year, the one that you had missed with the one site, and then you switched back to good old faithful and got
Yeah.
down. Tell us about that. Tell us about the backstory to that deer and everything like that.
That's going to be a quick story. So honestly, I had this deer 2 years in a row on camera, and last year I believe he was, or I'm sorry, 2 years ago, I think he was at his prime, or I believe he was at his prime then, and then this past season I noticed he was going down, and I do believe somebody in the area shot him and just put a
Mm-hmm.
bad shot, did mess with him. But yeah, no. So I'm hunting, and I have it on video, man. And I'm videoing from a ground blind, and I'm hunting the deer, and he comes across the field, and that I'm hunting, and you know, again, I shot, and it went right over his back, and he only ran like 10 feet and stayed there, and then he just walked off and was still in the field, but just was too far out of range. I only bow hunt for deer, um, you know, pheasants and waterfowl. I'm gun hunting, but I only bow hunt, and I only use a compound bow. I don't crossbow hunt or anything like that. I know a lot of people ask crossbow hunt, you know, so I'm just clarifying. Um, but actually, that deer, you know, during the rut, he went out, and I never saw him again.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So whether he's alive or somebody got him or a car, you know, I'm not sure. Hopefully, he is alive. Hopefully, you know, he was a mature buck. If I had to guess, he'd probably about 4.5 in that area. So
Yeah.
he knows how to survive, especially the property I'm hunting is pretty big, so it's possible he's there, just you know,
Yeah.
doing his own thing right now.
Hopefully he is alive, and you can get another crack at him. You know, next year, going into next year. But so the first of all, I remember when you shot this deer, that 14 pointer that you had, Lee, right? I believe you named him Lee. What a absolutely just beautiful buck. I mean, just hands down just beauty, but his rack was so unique. When did you first encounter that deer?
So that's a really good story. So that was, I believe I shot that deer in 2018, I think it was. And the year before I actually saw that deer, I had him on camera and I was going to shoot him, and I had him at 10 yards when I was hunting. And I saw him and I'm like, you know what? This deer is beautiful. I'm going to pass him up. I'm like, he's everything. And he wasn't as big. I have pictures of him the year before. He broke his brow tine. He was tight. He had the kickers and stuff, but he was real tight, like not as big. If I had to guess, he was probably about 120 to 130 inches.
Yeah.
And I had him dead to rights at 10 yards, and I let him go. And, I took a chance of letting him go. I know there's people who hunt that area, and I know that's a deer in New Jersey that most people wouldn't pass up. So I took the chance, and I made the decision I'm going to let him go. The following year, I have my camera up, and the first week I have it running. I don't get anything. Like I have, just does and a couple small bucks, and I'm like, man, did he get shot? He's not here. And the second week, I'm on the phone with my friend, and this is before cell cam, so I was using the little wild game. It plugs in the phone, and I'm sitting there on my phone swiping, and I see him, and I'm like, dude, Lee is on my camera. I stopped, and I'm like, dude, this deer blew up. And he's like, no way. So I sent him a picture, and he's like, holy shit, Matt, like that, you need to hunt that deer. And so then obviously that was summertime, and going into September, I'm all for this deer. Like I don't, my method is this: I run cameras, and when I find a mature buck, I stop all the other cameras. Maybe that's not what a lot of people do. They want to keep their options open. I tend to, if I see something that's unique for me or something I really like or a mature buck that I'm going to hunt, I go for that deer. I don't even look at it. I don't entertain anything else. So I focus my time and effort into that deer. I hung a stand, and this is what I'm saying. This when I said before, my friends are like, how did you kill a deer at that stand? This is actually one of the stands I'm talking about. I was so anxious and ready to get in there and hunt this deer that I hung this stand, and it's still hung to this day. Like I still hunt out of it. And the tree actually comes up and it kind of leans like this. So the stand is there and it's kind of sloped down. So, and I just never fixed it. And I was like, you know what? My little good luck spot. And so long story short, I had the whole video too, of me shooting that deer. I put so much corn out thinking, man, I need to get this deer here and he needs to stay here. I put corn, I put like a buffet of stuff out for this deer thinking I need to keep this deer in this area because no one else is passing this deer up. So I'm hunting and I have this 10-pointer come in, and he's a beautiful deer too. And he's on camera, he's sitting there eating. And I'm like, all right, normally Lee's with that deer. And I have a couple does come in and everyone's sitting there eating and munching. And I'm like, damn, no Lee. And all of a sudden I see the 10-pointer and he looks back through the meadow, and his hair actually stood up. And this is early. This is I want to say it was September or maybe the beginning. I forget which month it was. I believe it was September. And his hair actually on his back actually stood up almost like when a dog gets spooked.
Yeah.
And started hitting his horns on a sapling, trying to show dominance. And I'm like, what is he doing? I've never seen something like that. And all of a sudden I see legs coming through the meadow, and all of a sudden I see antlers. And as he's walking, his head is bobbing down, and I'm holy shit, that's Lee. And I have it all on video. I'm first of all, I'm filming on this camera that looks like ET. The front, the front lens is all busted. I've never really filmed the hunt before, so I had it on my right side so I could see the screen to make sure I'm getting everything in a video. And I have it all on video, I'm videotaping, and he comes across the creek and comes right up and starts eating. And I'm like, at this point, I'm ready to fall out of the tree stand, because I'm like, holy shit, this is the first time I've had him under me, like as a stud, right? So I'm like, my heart's racing, I'm shaking, the worst buck fever I've ever had. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to make this happen and calm down. And I'm videotaping, trying to get everything right. And I go to draw it back, and my elbow starts hitting the camera. So I'm like, no way, I'm not gonna be able to get a shot. So mind you, the tree stand is like leaned down. I draw it back, and like now I'm leaning like this to get around the camera, and I couldn't stand up at that point. So I'm sitting, and I'm aiming like this, and I'm like, man, this is all jacked up. But I wind up getting a clear sight on him, and I let it fly. And I when I shot him, I saw the shot, and it looked a little high, but I saw blood splatter, and I'm like, no way. And then I watched him run, and he stopped, and I saw his tail, flickering real quick, and then I saw him go down, and I'm like, holy shit! I just shot the biggest buck of my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got my phone, and I called up my buddies, and I'm like, dude, I just shot Lee. And they're like, what? And I got down there, they're like, wait, don't get down, just wait for us. I'm like, fuck you, I'm getting down. I saw him go down. So I go down, and I don't know, I actually posted the picture on my story right now, it's up there, of me laying on him and holding him. And like, that picture was actually me, like, I believe that was from a video, because I was screaming, like, I got him. And, just the excitement I got from that. And then finding out, I remember that night we called like everybody to see this deer who was there, and everybody came and helped me drag him out. And then when we taped him and found out that he taped like 158 and change, and I was like, holy shit, dude, like literally like my first buck, or I'm sorry, that was my third buck, I shot a 160.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like 158 and change, 159. So 159, I guess I didn't break the 160, but it was like 159. And, I don't even know. It was just, it's still to this day. Like I could have probably just hung my bow up after that, because I was like, dude,
Yeah.
shoot, the deer, the character that deer had and has is just unmatched with anything else that I've got so far or seen.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, first of all, what a story. I mean, just pure just that even got my heart pumping a little bit. Like it's got me fired up for deer season. I will definitely say like that. But that's what it's all about right there. Those memories you're gonna remember that for the rest of your life, and you're gonna be able to tell your kids and everything like that. Um, and just I'd count that as a 160 without a doubt. I mean, just a beautiful, like, I'm kind of like speechless just because I'm looking at him right now, and I mean, it's I couldn't even imagine how you feel, because I'm kind of lost for words with not even know what to say, and I wasn't even there, but and for your friends and family and everyone to witness that, I mean, it's got to be real special for sure.
Yeah. So what's funny is, somebody said to me, like, dude, that's a deer of a lifetime. And I was like, yeah, all right. And I know, really, like, that is a deer of a lifetime. And I was like, I guess I didn't understand it, because I was still, I've never shot something like that, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll find another one that's going to be just as big or whatever. And then it kind of stuck with me, like, that this is like a once in a lifetime deer. Like, this is a deer of a lifetime. And then when Northeast Big Bucks, I believe it is, they reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to do like an article. If you can submit like an article and a picture for that deer, and we want to put it in a magazine. And I was like, absolutely. That was cool. Yeah, I'll try it, and so that was pretty cool. They did that. Now, being that it was a non-typical, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it didn't go into like Boone and Crockett or anything because of non-typical. You needed to be like 180 or something like that.
Okay, all right.
With all the deductions for score wise, it didn't make it. But and then truthfully, that's also where I learned like I hate this whole scoring system.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
You know what? And I look at it like I kind of just stopped caring about all that, and it was just like, you know what? That's a beautiful deer. It's a mature buck. Like I don't really care about what the deer scores. You know?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I shot either a 150 or a 140 or 130, whatever. It's nice to say that, and like, you know, other hunters, excuse me, who can appreciate and know like what a 140 is. You know, so when somebody says I shot a 140, like, oh, well, that's a solid deer.
Yeah.
And then you know, it's funny, like the follow-up question to that deer, and this is Jersey? That's a Jersey buck?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's always the people never believe it. And now, you know, your next buck, was that Peaky?
Yes. So I had history with that deer. I had a lot of history with that deer. That wasn't the next buck, but that was that is one that I shot, and I do have a lot of history with that deer. So
what year did you shoot that one at?
Which one?
Peaky.
That was 2 years ago.
Okay, so that one was 2 years ago, and then last year was.
I didn't shoot a buck last year.
Okay, you didn't shoot a buck last year.
No.
Okay, so this was the buck that I saw 2 years. Okay, so all right, I know where we're at.
Yep. So, actually, I just want to backtrack real quick. So, in the story I was telling you with Lee, with the 10-pointer that was, you know, his hair stood up and everything, you know, that 10-pointer is a solid deer, and I'm like, man, that's a beautiful deer. And I wasn't going to hunt him. I was not going to hunt that deer. I had shot Lee. I'm like, I'm good on not shooting another buck for the year. And I'm someone who believes, you know, I'm good with one buck a year. If I can harvest one mature buck a year, I'm totally fine with that. I don't need to go out there and shoot 3 or 4 bucks. That's just not. I don't need that. You know, number one, taxidermy is expensive. 2, my wife will kill me if I bring home another deer head. She doesn't know that Peaky's getting done. You know, it'll be done soon, actually. So, you know, so I wind up, I wasn't going to hunt that 10-pointer, and it just so happens that things worked. I don't even remember the whole story with it, but somebody was telling me, dude, go out and hunt that deer. And I went out the same stand, the same spot that I shot Lee out of. I went back in, and I wound up killing that 10 for permit bow.
Okay.
I shot Lee. So that was my
Jeez.
1 year. Yeah, I killed that 10-pointer and Lee in the same year, and then I was done. I'm like, I'm done, you know? And so that was that year. And then following year, I shot the 8 with all the velvet on it. And then I think I shot, after that, the next year was the one with that kicker. I think he's a 7 or an 8 with that kicker. And then Peaky.
Yeah.
So Peaky, I had history with this deer, and I got to be honest with you, this story is really great, and I think about this deer all the time because I call it like the chase of Peaky, you know, finding Peaky. And we actually call him like Sneaky Peaky. Like everyone that knows everything and the story with it, we call him Sneaky Peaky because this deer started off as just a basket 8, and I had him on camera, and I said, man, that deer has potential. And I let him go. And then the following year, he blew up, and I'm hunting, and I was like, my buddy Rich was like, go sit in the ground blind and see if you see him and see what he looks like. Because I had pictures of him. And I'm like, he looks like a decent deer to shoot. And he's like, well, why don't you go sit? And if he comes in, you could tell right there, you know, judge if you want to shoot him. So I was like, you know what, Rich, you're right. And I remember this day, I was going hunting, and I hunt out of ground blind in this particular spot. And I get in there, and it's early. I think it was like 2 o'clock, maybe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I remember it's hot as balls out. I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes. I'm like, this sucks, man. And where I'm hunting, there's a pretty busy highway up to the right, like up a hill. And I hunted private property. And 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this deer comes across the highway and right down. And I heard something to the right, and I look, and it's Peaky coming down the hill. And I'm like, are you kidding me? At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this deer just crossed a major highway like that? And he comes in, and he started eating. And I'm watching. I'm like, you know what? This is a pretty good deer. And I drew my bow back, and I shot, and I hit him high, and he took off running. And I'm like, no way. And I go over, there's blood, and I follow the blood and everything. And the blood trail stopped. And I was like, how is that possible? And it made me sick. And this is like what you were saying before, like, oh, if, know your equipment, practice with your equipment. And, I was confident with my stuff. And when I shot that deer, I just hit him a little high. It was a bad shot. And I'm happy it happened. I'm not happy it was a bad shot. I'm happy that he survived. And, a couple weeks later, my buddy lives down the road. And he's like, man, you should see this buck that came in my backyard. He's like a big 8. And I was like, really? I'm like, you care if I put out a camera and hunt back there behind your house? He's got woods back there. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. So I put up the camera, and sure as shit, it's Peaky. And I was so relieved, like, oh my God, this deer's alive. Thank you. And I hunted him back there for a little bit, and I never got the opportunity to get a shot at him. Then it comes to the following year, and that was the year I shot him. So now I have the camera out in the original spot that I shot him, which he actually changed up. Like, he wasn't coming in as much, would show up late, like non-huntable, right? And I have the camera out, and he shows up in velvet, and I'm like, holy shit, like, this deer lived, and he like just bloomed,
Yeah.
And so I hunted him hard, and he disappeared, would show up on camera, and next thing you know, I'm like months into hunt, like a couple months into hunting season. I'm like, dude, I can't hunt it. Like, this deer's just not showing up. So I go down the road, and I see a house with some woods behind it, and I knock on the door, and I start talking to the guy, and I ask him for permission. And he says, yeah, you know what? You can hunt here. He's like, I never really had anybody ask me to hunt, but yeah, you can hunt here. I was like, awesome. And I go into the woods just to like take a peek, and I step like 4 feet into the woods, and Peaky jumps up and takes off running. Are you kidding me? So I put my trail camera up on the tree, and the one trail cam pictures I always post to him, where he's just sitting there looking at the camera, like, he came back to that spot where I jumped him from and was just walking around in there. And I got a bunch of trail cam pictures, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's been here this whole time. He's just, not hitting the corn pile, not showing up. And so then he disappears again, and I'm thinking somebody shot him. I'm thinking, like, this deer either got hit by a car, or it's starting to get to be October. I'm like, somebody got him. I haven't seen him in weeks. This deer is dead. And again, my buddies, Dom, Rich, Davey, they're like, dude, he's not dead. That deer was dead. You would have heard about it. Like, you would have heard that deer if he was dead. And so I go into Walmart one night. I'm by the hunting section, and some guy comes up, and he asked me a question about one of the hunting things. He's like, what do you think about this? And we start bullshitting, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I just started hunting this spot. He's like, my buddy lives in this house, and there was this beautiful buck standing in his backyard. And he's like, we got a picture of him on our cell phone while we're just standing there. And he tells me, like, where he's hunting, and it's not, I would say it's maybe like 3 miles away. And he shows me the picture, and it's Peaky. And I'm like, dude, like, that's the deer I've been hunting. And he was like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, look, here's pictures of him. And he was like, holy shit, that is the same deer. And he's very, like, you could tell it's him. The reason we call him Peaky, he's got one blind eye that he must have been fighting, and he got stuck in his eye, and his eye he's blind in his eye. So I call him Peaky for, like, Peaky blinders. That's how I came up with that name.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
And this guy is showing me a picture of it, and I'm like, dude, like, you just ruined my whole night. I mean, it's good because I know he's alive, but you just ruined my whole night. Now you're telling me you're going to hunt him. And he's laughing, and I'm like, good luck. Good luck. This guy's just starting out hunting. If he could harvest that buck for his first buck,
Of course.
And I told him, I said, good luck. I hope if you get him, here's my number. Please, I'd love to at least see him. So going into November, Dom, he already shot a buck. And so he's kind of the same page with me. Like if he shoots one, if he can shoot a decent one, he's kind of holds off. So he's like, dude, we gotta put cameras out. We gotta make some mock scrapes and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that deer is dead. Like he hasn't showed up. And he's like, he's not dead. Just let's go. So he drags me out there, and we're putting cameras all in this piece just to kind of pinpoint where he may be. And like we're going probably in like I don't even know, like 2 mile radius around, and putting cameras out and trying to pinpoint where this deer may be. And Dom came in. He's like, dude, let's make a scrape right here. And sure as shit, we make the scrape, and Peaky that night came in and hit it, and we have it on video of him coming in and hitting the scrape, and starts hitting his horns on the trees. And I'm like, dude, like Peaky's here, man. So I remember it was warm out that week, and I wasn't even gonna hunt. And my cousin's like, dude, get out and go get in the stand, like go hunt. And I'm like, I don't feel like it. And he's like, no, go hunt. Like it's perfect. Like it's a nice night, go hunt. And I was like, all right. So I went out and I sat there, and I literally had pictures of me in the stand that day, and I got deer getting chased all around me. And that was the other thing I wanted to just touch on. Dom is very smart when it comes to stuff, and he said, listen, he's not coming into the corn pile where you shot him. Leave your ground blind there. Leave the corn pile there, but let's move a setup. Like let's set up somewhere down over here and see if he's either walking around the corn pile or just avoiding it. So I said, okay. So that's when we set that up, and it just all worked out that night, and I was able to get a shot on him, and I obviously it was a good shot that time, and I shot him, and I heard him run, and I heard the crash, and I'm like, bro, I smoked Peaky. The story of Peaky is done. And I would ride around with my wife, and I'd be like, listen, we got to go drive around in the area and see if we see him. And I would drag her out, and I would drag my friends, and I would go for rides at night, and maybe he's walking through a neighborhood, and I would go in there and look for him all the time. And it was like, this where's Sneaky Peaky? Because he was smart, man. He was laying there the whole time he was in that spot.
Jesus Christ. What a story. What a deer. And that's the chess game, I like to call it. Yep. Hunting mature deer, it is a chess game, and who's going to make the first mistake? That's really, and it comes down to it. You both made mistakes, and then you were able to capitalize on, your unfortunate, hunt. And then, first of all, 3 miles, and no one should really be surprised by that, because deer travel, especially during, the rut and throughout the year, they travel very far. But it's kind of like, just hearing about it, it's like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because like, honestly, we'll put cameras out, and deer disappears, and your just first instinct is, that deer's dead. I haven't seen it in so long. So how many deer, really mature deer, are showing up, and you'll be hunting them, and then they disappear, not because they're dead, but just because they're a couple miles away. Their home range could be just so big, and that's just how it goes. But it's like always going to be in your mind that, okay, I don't see him after seeing him every day, or I have this pattern on him. He's just a dead deer. Someone else killed him, got hit by a car. There's so many different things. But to have that many encounters, or that many times you've seen him and going out into a new property, and you step right in, and then you bump him, and then you got some random guy in a damn store that is, that's even wilder. How much of a small world it really is that you were able to run into somebody just randomly. It's and especially a new hunter too. I mean, I agree with you. If you would have killed that buck, man, a first time buck, it's I don't even know because
I just want to see it. Like, if you get a good buck, I'm happy for you. If you do get him, like, I would just love to see him. Like I said, I've had history with this deer now for 3 or 4 years. Like, I've watched him grow into this, and I actually shot him. And it was just, it's crazy how it works out. When they say like hard work pays off, it really does, because I put so much work into that, and I must have had probably close to 20 cameras out for this deer, and
that's how it gets. I love it.
I miss the chase. I really do. I think about it all the time, and people are like, dude, you got the deer. I'm like, yeah, but the chase is over. So it's like, now what? Like, I feel like I had a relationship with this deer. Like, he was a boy to me. We were playing cat and mouse,
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's the addicting part. And I go into every season not really trying to focus on one deer. I like to have 4 to 5 different bucks that I'm after, but it always turns into one deer. Like, especially once you get that like good encounter or the history with that deer, it just turns into like, I don't care about any other deer because I love the chase so much. And people are like, oh, well, you didn't harvest a buck this year, or, why'd you pass on that deer? I go, well, it's not really about that. Like, the chase to me is what drives me. Like, I shoot does for my meat. I 100%. That's what does are for. Especially we're blessed to be in a state where we have the opportunity to shoot as many does as we can. So like, why do I need to just go out and shoot any buck? Like, I want to have that thrilling chase where it's frustrating and it's just full of emotions. I mean, I had a buck this year that just him and I, same thing, cat and mouse game. We played chess, and I made I was 9 steps correct. I just couldn't get to that one step. And you know what? He was there. It's like a drug, kind of.
Yeah, no,
You're chasing a high when it comes to that.
It becomes personal, I believe, because like you're here I am chasing these deer. I got pictures of them, and I have, not that I have history with every single deer I hunt, right? Like, it's not that. It's just that there has been a couple deer that I like. I'll let these deer go, and that's the other thing I always get. Like, people are like, oh, how do you shoot big deer every year? Like, oh, you got to be poaching or this and that. It's like, listen, I have different spots. First of all my spots are private. I get permission. All my spots are legitimate, 100%. And anybody that knows me that hunts will tell you that I only hunt, like, my bucks that I've shot are all legitimate. Like, I don't trespass for them. I don't do anything. Like, I have permission where I'm at, right? And I put a lot of time in, and I pass these deer up. Like, and there's nothing, and I'm not knocking any hunter. Right? If somebody wants to shoot a like, let's say a 80-inch 8-pointer, that's like, again, I'm not knocking that, right? I just know what I want to shoot. Like, I know what I want, and I'm not going to shoot a 130-inch deer, because I know if that deer makes it, like Lee, like Peaky, they're going to blow up, and they're going to turn into something that I want to shoot. So yes, there is, like, and I have spots where I don't shoot bucks in. Like, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just going to keep this spot, and hopefully these deer here will turn into like 140, 150-inch deer. That's what I want to shoot. And I get it. Everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't have that same, mentality, and that's fine. That's what makes people, like, that's what makes the world go round. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
But for me, that's something. And everyone asks me, like, how do you continuously shoot these big bucks? Like, there's no way, like, you're doing something illegal, or like, you're not really hunting in New Jersey. And it's like, listen, man, first of all, I have videos of me shooting these deer, so you could see I'm not poaching them. You could see I have of them, you know, daylight, this and that. You know, you get some salty people that start
Of
rumors
course.
with anything, and it's just not true. And I wish these people would actually come to me and be like, hey, you know, like, how did you shoot that? And I'll tell them, like, listen, I'm all for helping somebody. I'm all for some, you know, if somebody needs help, and I don't know everything. I told you, I'm very like basic. I don't know everything. So if you ask me about like the newest um, bow site that could tell you yardage, I'm gonna tell you, dude, I don't know anything about it. You know, but I'm gonna tell you, listen, this is how I hunt. This is what's worked for me. I've been successful on killing mature bucks, and this is what I do. You know, this is my steps of and this is what works for me.
Yeah, no, and perfectly said. I mean, it is one of the things that, you know, hard work out of everything is going to pay off, you know, and there's always going to be haters, there's always going to be doubters, there's always going to be, especially now, the way, like we were talking about in the beginning, that's social media. Listen,
Yeah.
people, a lot of keyboard warriors nowadays, you know, and that's, but you know what, that to me, you're doing something right. You know, if you got somebody talking about you,
To sound like this at all, but you know, I know I'm doing something right, and I know people see these deer because there's been times where I've been like I've been to there's a place in Homedale called PNC Bank Art Center. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
mm-hmm.
I've been at a concert before, and like I'm walking through the crowd, somebody grabs me, and is like, "Yo, you're Maddie Butts. Like you shoot really nice deer." I'm like, "Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like, you know, thanks." You know, it's cool. It's kind of cool. Like, you know, I'm not famous. I'm not a famous hunter. I'm not anything like that, and I'm not, you know, but it's cool. Like people see the deer you shoot, and they do pay attention.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, let's we're gonna get a few more in there. We're gonna ask you our classic questions on the show. I mean, there's still so much more to dive into. I would definitely, you know, we definitely got to get you back on for another
Absolutely.
episode. You know, one of our biggest questions we always ask the new guys: what would your dream hunt be if it could be anywhere in the world? 2 weeks, money is not a doesn't matter. What animal and where would it be?
All right. You know what? I've been saying since I'm younger, like I would love to do an elk trip. I would love to do an elk hunt. Um, you know, pulling tags and the cost of it is crazy. So that's why I never went. But I don't, you know, I don't really have a set place on where I want to hunt. Um, you know, I think I'd really enjoy doing an elk trip.
Elk, got it. You a snacker in the woods? Do you like to snack in the woods?
No, honestly, no. I don't. You know, and there's times I'll go sit all day and maybe I'll bring like one of those Wawa pretzels, you know, and just chew on that
Yeah,
for a little bit
yeah,
of a
yeah.
protein bar. But when I'm there, man, it's gonna sound corny, but I have a job to do, man. Like I'm there for a particular deer, and I know what I'm there for, and like it's just pay attention. Like you know, and plus I'm clumsy. I'll drop stuff all the time. Like I've dropped my arrows out of the tree and had to climb down and get them, and so I don't.
Yeah, been there. Yeah. You've shot both, so typical or non-typical?
I'm sorry. What was that?
You've shot both, so are you a typical or not? Would you pick a typical or a non-typical deer?
Non-typical, non-typical, and just my feeling on it is I like the character. You know, I like.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the deer I've shot, like you know, my first buck it was a basket 8-pointer, but he's got a drop tine and he's got kickers going on behind his head, like on his right side, and he's at an 11-pointer actually. You know, but I saw that and I was like, dude, my first year I'm gonna shoot a drop tine if it all works out, and it also just like you know you could look at a wall and there would be 8-pointer, 8-pointer, 10-pointer, 6-pointers, whatever, you know, typical deer, and then you see one that just stands out because he's got all this junk and different stuff going on, and you're like, that's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
I guess to answer your question, I would pick a non-typical deer
Non-typical. Yeah.
over.
I yeah. Um, if you can only hunt 1 week out of the year, what week would you be picking?
I hate the rut. I'm gonna be honest with you. Everyone loves like, oh man, the rut's coming. I fucking hate the rut.
I like the pre-rut. I'm not the best rut
Yeah, no,
hunter in the world.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If you look at my record of deer hunting, most of the bucks I get within the first like 2 to 3 weeks of deer season because they're still on their I call like a summer pattern.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I would probably pick that like the first like maybe the second week of deer season, depending on because you got to shoot a doe and then if you get time to hunt if you're not working whatever. So yeah, probably the second week.
Good week. Good week. If you could buy a hunting property in any state, what would it be?
I would say Jersey. I would. I know a lot of people are like, why? Why would you go out west? And it's like because I've seen what I could do here, and there's probably way bigger deer out west. Granted, food source and things like that, and it is a different type of hunting. But I love Jersey hunting. I love like I said, man. I don't know. It's a different type of hunting here.
I love it. Love it. And then last one, if you could hunt with anyone, now we could do it. We could do one family member and then one person. I usually ask we can do anyone who's alive, anyone who's dead, whether the famous back in the day, whatever the case is. Who would it be?
Shit. If I could hunt with anybody, so all right. I'm gonna give you two answers real quick. Short answer. One of my best friends, his father passed away, and I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
And he was just a really good person to be around, and he hunted, and I looked up to him like as he was like my own father. I spent a lot of time with him and stuff, and I would love to hunt with him.
Yeah.
One time. And then
Is he the one that taught you a lot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I know who you're talking about.
Yep. And and I guess if I had to pick a celebrity to go hunting with, I guess I don't know. Maybe I would pick like Jason Aldean or someone just because they seem like they got some good spots and a lot of property I could hunt.
Yeah. He's a good one. They have that show or had that show. What Buck Commander, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
I always tell people I don't think I would not want to hunt with Luke Bryan. You would annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah, he would. He gets amped up. I love it though. A lot of people hate on him for it. I get amped up, but I don't know. Actually, if I change my mind, I'll tell you what. I'll go hunting with Lainey Wilson or someone like that. But it ain't. We're not hunting for deer,
Oh man. Well, Matt, any last words?
No, man. I think we covered a lot. I'd love to get back on with you guys again. I appreciate you guys having me, and we had some good conversation.
Yeah.
I hope everybody listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope if anybody has any questions or anything ever wants to ask me, whatever, shoot me a message on Instagram. If I can help you in any way, I absolutely will. And the guys that I hunt with from Jersey Outdoors, everybody is knowledgeable with stuff, and any of us would be willing to help you out if you ever had any questions or anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, perfectly said. The link is going to be in the description below, so go check them out. His hunting page is going to be in there. The Jersey Outdoors page is going to be out there. Oh, one more thing I wanted to touch on, and this is off topic. I follow your personal, and
Yes.
Every Halloween, you and your wife have the best Halloween. My fiance and I love Halloween. Like it's our favorite time of the year. You guys do an absolute bang up job. You know, we want to get to that type of level at some point, because it looks like you guys have. And then I think you guys do the elf in the shelf too. I think you guys do as
Yeah,
well.
she kills it. She burns me with it. Like, she comes up with stuff, and I'm just like, how do, like, man, I can't. I don't know. She's good with that. Halloween. Let me tell you something real quick. Halloween. That is our favorite holiday. We you know, we kind of pick a costume and we start like working for it. Like, we make all our own costumes. You know, everything we do, we
Oh,
make.
really? That's sick.
Yeah. Very, very seldom do we buy anything from the store. It's like a ready-made costume. We, we'll go to thrift shops and make our costumes and stuff. But we, it's gonna be sad to say, we go to like a competition every year, and we'll get entered into the competition, but we never win.
Really?
And I'm so upset about it. I keep telling, like, we're going every year till we win at least one time.
Oh my God, that's sick. That's pretty cool. Listen, I hope you guys deserve to definitely win. I mean, the costumes have every year. I look forward to, like, oh, look at this shit right here. I mean, it is absolutely like amazing. Halloween, I agree with you. I think honestly from September, we start our Halloween movie. Like, we start getting ready. Like, it's Halloween time. The movies start coming out. All the decorations start coming out. It is by far
It's
far
just a
the best
great
time of
time
the
of
year.
year. It's a great time of year, but with everything, obviously the cooler weather, deer hunting season. You get to do all the full activities, and like I said, I mean, Halloween has always been one of my favorite things. So it's just an extra thing into it.
Yeah, definitely agree. Well, everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. The link is going to be down in the description below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome. Later.